Okay, folks, today I would like to talk about the difference between modifying characters in Goldbox games and re-rolling characters until you find the good rolls. Um, let's first talk about what these games are all about. These games are not Dungeons and Dragons games, as in there is no dungeon master. So that's my as you if you've been around the channel for I don't know since the birth of the channel, you know that basically I never modify characters. I did in this game. Um, and the reason for that is because basically it depends on how much frustration you want to get out of a game. Like if you play with unmodified characters, there are a few things you need to realize. First of all, there is no dungeon master that will help you should the party suffer a party wipe or something like that. There are no like third parties here. So if you don't have the stats, you just don't have the stats. Now, they may not be the end of all, as in you don't really need the stats, but you really do need the stats. Like you don't need the stats to finish the game, because this is Dungeon Master. Sorry, this is Dungeons and Dragons. So the vast majority of your power comes from leveling up. But if you lack Constitution, if you lack Dexterity, Strength you can make do because of the enlarged spell, the girdles of giant strength. Not in the Eye of the Beholder series, but generally speaking in Goldbox games like Pool of Radiance and stuff like that, you find lots of gear that gives you improved strength, more than modifying gets you. But you know, dexterity is absolutely important because without dexterity you would lose combat initiative. And that's gonna be a problem. I see you. And yeah, that's the problem basically. You don't have combat initiative, which means that the enemy will go first. More, it's like a random generated number, so you throw a dice and you see who goes first. If you have high dexterity, obviously, you will go first. Most of the times. So modifying a party, granted you could like make a mage, because this reasoning goes well for mages, because mages need the initiative to cast fireballs. I think I've been here. And fighters can go last, sure, no problem. All they have to do is beat people and take damage. That's all they have to do. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. But the mages need to go first. So sure, you can re-roll, spend 20 minutes re-rolling for high intelligence. Let's close the door for the Anchor Cleaver. I think I have to go this way. And you can do that, but why spend so much time? It doesn't feel, sorry, I wanted to pick lock. Or maybe not. Why would I want to spend 20 minutes re-rolling when I can just get 18 from modifying? That's weird, right? It doesn't make any sense to me to waste time doing that. But it's just me. I don't know. I think that it might be good if you want to make a let's play, but you know, or just want to do something fancy like re-rolling. And sure, it might works. It might work in the first episodes, but then what? Then you have nothing, because you have no dexterity. If you just don't have the maximum dexterity, and the enemy gets the advantage, which means that you're basically stuck with those low dex numbers. That's going to be a problem. So it's something that you definitely should account for when you make a party. Do I want to have high dexterity and modified stats? Do I want to cast enlarge every single time? And this is okay in Champions of Kreen, for instance. You don't get infinite number of random encounters. There's a fixed number of encounters. The same goes for Pool of Radiance. So you can basically make do, right? But if you go into the other episodes, then you've got infinite number of encounters, which means that eventually you will not be able to rest peacefully, which means no enlarge, no haste, no bonuses, no spells, no buffs. And that drains on your, that saps your stamina for the party. Now you have to fight with like 17 strength or 1825, something like that. And the enemies have a lot of hit points. However, um, the problem rises from doing all these fights, and these fights are not easy. Like there may be spellcasters, there may be beholders, maybe dragons, maybe whatever. So it's not much the fixed encounter that gives problems usually. It's the random encounters. Now the fixed encounters are usually made of bullshit because there was one guy who was adamant on making life miserable for the player. But it is what it is. So what's the advantage of modifying characters? First of all, you get some extra taco, which is a good thing, because starting from, okay, 17 gives you +1 taco. Okay, that's fantastic. But 1851 gives you +2. And if you go to 1800, I think, or 76, I think it's 00, gives you +3, which is a good thing, because that's 5% more chance. And if it's 1851, you get +2 taco, and that's going to 00, gives you a 5% chance to hit, and that's good, and gives you also more damage. So you don't need a large as much as you need if you don't modify the numbers, which also means that some encounters in this game are designed to be very difficult, and you don't really want to whiff your target that much. Like, sure, modifying characters will trivialize some encounters in the lower levels, but that's not about it. This is not the only thing you got to do, because later on in the game, like, the stats will only start to matter when it comes to constitution and dexterity and strength if you cannot rest or memorize spells. And in Eye of the Beholder, for instance, I got all my characters here with maximum stats. I didn't have to rest one single time, except when I gained new levels and set new spells. I literally didn't have to do any healing of sorts, because my guys here will just destroy and decimate everything. So that's one thing. I've got to open this door, but I need to find the key first. I don't want to use mine. So that's the big difference. And I think this argument, I thought it as cheating, but over the course of the last Dark Queen of Kreen playthrough, I did change my mind. Please don't do that. That would be very unfortunate. And that's something that really gets me when I see people modifying characters to 18 and I go, gee bro, why can't you just get a good roll and see what you come up with? Why do you have to cheat? But playing that Queen of Green really changed my perspective. Like, sure, I have an easier time in the first episodes of the games, of the trilogies. Sure. Nobody's saying you don't. But then again, when you go into Dark Queen of Green with all the griefing monsters and all the shit, you just scream at the screen. You just scream at the screen. And that's a bad thing, because it makes you go into a rage, and then you lose the willpower to play the game. That's a bad thing. So just modify your characters. There's no reason not to. I think Eye of the Beholder is a little bit more lax when it comes to modifying, because you don't have bullshit encounters and you can actually dance of death around the enemies. So that's, a minor problem, minor issue. Okay. So that's something you can do here. You can play with just whatever. See, with modified characters, I have a very easy time killing these guys. It's okay. It makes this very easy. But also range combat is very powerful in Eye of the Beholder, so due to the nature of the game. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Also, try to understand what game you are playing. Like if you are playing a Goldbox game, then please remember that those games are absolutely dreadfully difficult. If you're playing a Dark Sun game, you absolutely don't need to reroll, to modify. You just can go with whatever stat. The enemies are tame, but then again, I have a feeling that, you know, it's okay. I don't know if the game was made by the same guy who's like a plague in every Goldbox game. I mean the level design, the monster design, the combat, whatever. You get the point. And yeah, making life miserable for your players is never a good idea. So in those games, you definitely need to modify. In other games, you can skip that. So that's one thing. And I have a thing. Okay, for Eye of the Beholder, it's definitely like I went to modify here because I didn't want to spend 10 hours re-rolling for a cleric with 18 wisdom or like a fighter with 18. I just don't want to spend the time anymore having this weird 30 minutes. One night I re-roll for like a good 2 hours in Pool of Radiance in order to make 2 clerics with 18 wisdom, because they need 18 wisdom to reach the maximum spell level cast. You know, level 7 spells require 18 wisdom for a cleric. So, you know, there's that. I didn't want, like I spent 2 hours, I kid you not, 2 hours. Luckily I was in Discord with my friends, so it just went by. Like, it did go by, but we were playing like Dungeons and Dragons online, so that's fine. It didn't feel like I was a stranger. But man, 2 hours of rolling for an 18 dex when I could have just modified the characters with 18 wisdom. Oh, for Pete's sake. So why just do that? Oh, hi. Tago, nobody cares about you, so sure. Feel free to die. You're just a mule. Other than that, yeah, I just don't see why not. From now on, I will modify the characters in almost all of the games, which I deem necessary. Like, there are some downsides to do that. For instance, in a Pool of Radiance, if you modify your characters and they become too strong, then you will face stronger random encounters with lots of enemies, and in general encounters will be very nasty. I think we have a cure poison for you. Did I find a room with a cure poison? Not yet. It's okay. Feel free to die whenever you feel like dying. And that's the thing, right? You choose your level of grief. Do you want to be grieved as much? Well, go ahead, be my guest. Don't say I didn't warn you though, because I did warn you. Like Menzo Baranzan, for instance, you basically don't need to modify stats. Menzo Baranzan, Ravenloft, those games you don't really need to modify stats. I think the only reason for modifying stats would be in the Goldbox games, the ones with the strategic combat. I think that's the only area where you want, like really want to modify the characters, because otherwise it will make your life miserable. I think that's all there is to it. Other than that, uh, I think you should feel free to not modify characters. That's just fine. Let me reduce this. I need to see the map for this. Okay, we are over here. So yeah, modifying versus not modifying. I think like we need to understand one thing. Okay, so when you do modify the characters, it feels like cheating. It feels like you are cheating. It just makes it difficult to watch someone who modifies the character. But recently I've watched like Blue Ankylo's playthrough. I watched Cinetar playthrough of like Dark Queen of Kreen, and I went, bro, these guys went through the fight, but they had modified characters. It would be. I did finish Dark Queen of Kreen in one of my older playthroughs, not the recent one where I abandoned the game because of the random encounters. But man, it's just painful. Those are just painful games, and the level of grief, is just inhumane. So don't feel guilty if you modify the characters. Just don't. Okay? Feel free to modify the characters to your art content. Thank you, game. I see what you did there. Also, did you notice the enemy has difficulties hitting me? Yeah, 18 dexterity. My dwarf has -2 armor class, my cleric has 4, which is stupid because, well, I need to find some healing items. But I mean, sure, you can complete the game. I completed all these games with unmodified characters. Like I said, it's all about the level of frustration you want to go through. So if you want to go through a lot of frustration, by all means, be my guest. Just don't modify the characters. I know I didn't. So it's not like I don't understand that. But what you're doing is really doing it just to feel what? Oh, I did not modify the characters. Boo-hoo. Yeah, well, it's your game. It's your sanity you are talking about. And when you're missing every single attack, and you ask yourself, oh, why am I missing? Well, that's the reason you did not modify the character. Now you're missing every attack. And, you know, that's the thing. Not modify, well, get wrecked by the enemy. There are some key stats that, you know, you can modify or just reroll for. But again, it's a lot of time you spend doing this. Oh, this is the identified chamber. Maybe when I'm done with the game. And that's a lot of time that you spend doing absolutely nothing. And this should be this. Yeah, this is the other room. So I think we're done with this level. Let me check the map, guys, real quick. I think we did everything. Yeah, explored everything. I didn't go in one place though. Why is that? Oh, it's possible it's where you fall. Let me check. Let's pick the level. Yeah, it's one of those. I fell down. Please save me. I think there are stairs though, which leads me to believe I may have missed something. Okay, anyways, guys, that's all I wanted to talk about. It's about the modify versus unmodify character. Now, you feel free to do whatever you want, but I warned you, so it's like look at these characters, by the way. These characters are maxed out. I have a fighter, cleric, thief, mage. Look at their HPs. 68, 46, 37, 24. Like, my cleric has more HPs than Tagor. That's because I modified the characters. See? They have 18 in constitution. These guys got 19. So what's the point of playing a dwarf if you don't get 19 constitution in these games? It feels like they're made to be played with the maximum stats. It just feels like it's made that way. Now, for instance, in Champions of Kreen, you can get away with the low stats because you can just Stinking Cloud and sleep enemies. Hold person works wonder. In Death Knight of Kreen, kind of, you just need clerics to turn undead. And in Dark Queen of Kreen, you need the stats. You need dexterity, you need constitution. If you die, you lose 1 constitution point. So your mage needs 18 constitution, because if he dies, you either reload or lose 1 point of constitution. If you have less than 16 constitution, you lose HPs, total HPs, which is even worse, because now your mage is not only getting one-shotted, but he's going to get one-shotted more often. So in that game, what is high level adventure, and there is no dungeon master that says, okay, stop with the random encounters, you can rest now. Even if you roll badly, I won't tell you, just rest, so we can move on with the game. I think that's the big difference, and it's the presence of a dungeon master which coordinates everything. In this game there isn't, so you end up like being fucking screwed. In the late episodes of any Goldbox games, magic becomes kinda useless. It just becomes a spam of fireballs. Like, because the saves are not tied to your mage level or your intelligence. The saves are determined by the target. The target has a certain saves, and the higher you go in the levels, the lower these saves are. So when you're fighting high level creatures, they have very big saves, so you won't be able to charm, hold, do those kind of things that you could do in Champions of Green, for instance, which means you just have to rely on delayed blast fireballs for the whole game. That's why mages and multi-class elves are just prevalent in every playthrough. That's just because they lob a lot of fireballs. Every character can lob a fireball. There are 20, 30 enemies each random encounter. So what are you gonna do? Are you gonna manually miss every single time or just get wrecked? No, you just fireball. So that's the thing. And in Eye of the Beholder, especially in Eye of the Beholder 2, if you don't modify the character, which I have not done, and in Eye of the Beholder 2, I have a playthrough which YouTube just refuses to flat out show to people because fuck YouTube, right? Um, I had to once scroll for 5 minutes before I found one of my videos, and the YouTube just kept showing me the same 3 people, 4 people. Bro, those are 10 years ago, 16 years ago videos. Fuck you, YouTube. Jesus Christ. I can't even find new YouTubers to watch their Let's Plays because YouTube keeps shoving me the same 3 people. No, thank you. I've already seen those videos. Shut up, YouTube. I don't want to see them again. I have a red bar in every video. Stop it. Anyways, in my first Let's Play of Eye of the Beholder and Eye of the Beholder 2, I never modified the characters, and I won. But boy, was it frustrating when you have a dwarf with like, what, 16 strength? I think he had 16 strength, or the ranger had 16 strength. I don't remember, but I didn't re-roll for like meta stats, and I did not modify the characters. It was very, very frustrating. If I had maximum stats, especially because we don't have enlarge and gauntlets of ogre power or stuff like that, that means my taco is severely worse. Like, let's say I have 16 strength, I have +0 to hit. You need 17 to get a +1. Compared to a modified characters, I have a -3 taco. The difference is 3 points of taco, which is 15% chance to hit with each attack. That's huge. And when you attack, you deal less damage, like 6 damage on average. You deal less, even more if you have less strength. So there is a big difference between modified characters and non-modified characters. They have a lot of troubles. And that, again, you can do it. I did it, but it was frustrating to some extent. Other than that, yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about, because I watch a lot of videos and there are people in the comments going, you modify, you cheated the game. Okay, I agree, but consider that game is out there to kill you and is out there to grief you and make your life miserable. So consider that when you're playing these games. How much do you want to be griefed upon? It's up to you. You can go like the first 2-3 levels. I completed the first 3 levels of Eye of the Beholder with this party before starting this video in like 15 minutes. It was just go, 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 kill, kill, kill. 15 minutes is all it took me. I did not have any trouble, even with a cleric and a fighter that serves the front line. No trouble at all. It was a breeze. But when I get down into the later levels, I feel like it's going to be a problem. When there are mantis that paralyze you and you don't have the saving throws, When you have, like in the second episode, you have frost giants, which deals 30 damage per hit. When you have like all those skeletal warriors with inhumane armor class and they destroy you, well, you wish you had those extra points from the stats. So modifying is an alternative to re-rolling 24,000 times before you get the proper stats to make a coherent party and not a useless party. Because if you consider bring these characters to like the third installment, you need to consider that the mages need 18 intelligence, the clerics need 18 intelligence, probably the fighters need dexterity to avoid level drain and stuff like that. Um, for armor class and initiative, which is not here in this game, but in general. Anyways, that's all I wanted to talk about. If you have a different opinion, I'd like to hear a different point of view, because I was on the do not modify camp, but now I feel like, what's the point? Like, these guys are a douche. They try to destroy you. SSI just tries to make your life miserable. So what's the point? Just modify the character. It's just the correct answer, I feel. So it's just switch sides. Just modify the characters. If you want to roleplay, just give the characters the stats you think they should have. Like a dwarf is low, so give him like 12 dexterity, so he gets hit every single time, and giving high strength and constitution. You can do that. We can roleplay with the modify, but putting everything to 18 seems to me like the most relaxing way to play those games compared to not doing that. And that's about it. Thank you for watching. Share your opinion. I'd like to hear more on the subject. For real. I'm not just saying that because it's YouTube. Besides, 4 people are gonna watch this video, so yeah, sure. Thank you for watching, guys. See you in the next one.